So today's webinar is a little bit about sharing some best practice and tips, and it's been asked for by a number of colleagues across policing and even within PDS, as many of us now adopted Windows 11, and we thought it was time to perhaps just give a bit of signposting to some of the things that have changed, but also go back on some of the top tips around using the 365 platform that allow you to work more effectively, more efficiently, more collaboratively across the board. So it's going to be a little bit different to a normal webinar. You won't see too much of me because we'll be focusing on the screen share, and I think that's probably the better thing to be sharing today as we go through things. So a number of things have changed with Windows 11, so let's dive into them and see what's coming up. Do stay with us for the end of the webinar, because we have got a number of key events that you can pick up on which you'll want to know about, so we'll get into that. So let's get into the one that I'm using an awful lot at the moment, which is screen snapping or screen arrangement. So we all use tons and tons of Windows for different applications, different tools, and you'll have a desktop that often that looks quite cluttered, quite busy, and you'll be opening different things at different times, and you'll be having them all over things, so either using one screen or two screen. You'll end up desktops looking like this, and then you'll be wondering, switching from one screen to another, one tab to another, and trying to work out how you're going to get to things. One of the new things in Windows 11 that can help you work in a really good way is if you hover over the maximize button, these new tabs open up. So if I hover over again, you can see now it's giving you options to lay out your screen. And if you use multiple screens, you can do this on multiple screens. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Word document here, and then I'm going to put my browser here. You can imagine how you can have two Word documents side by side, nicely synchronized. It allows you to lay out your screen how you want to work. The other way you can do it is grab hold of your taskbar, hover over to the top, and then say, oh, actually, I'm going to use a 4-page layout. And I'm going to select, I'm going to have that there, I'm going to have the Word document down here, and I'm going to have a browser window open here. So this is the one we're actually using to manage the live event. So I'll just drag that out of the way. So you can see how you can now start to work in a more efficient way. And if you've got lucky to have a very large screen, this could be a really effective way. Or if you're on one of the super wide screens, again, this can help you to work in a way that you've probably not worked before, and be able to have some real control over how you want to lay out your screen, have different things open at any time, and be able to work in two applications at the same time, clicking across. A very helpful way of doing things. I think you'll find it very useful as you get into it, particularly if you're using different screens and things like that at a different time. You can see some prejudged layouts it can do for you to manage everything like that. So do think about how you can use that in a really effective way. Now, there has been a change to the taskbar as well in Windows 11, which has taken a bit of getting used to. Now, I liked my little taskbar to have the search and the start button on the left-hand side. For many of you, it's now moved into the center. That's absolutely fine. It's very easy to change the settings on it. You just go for taskbar settings in the search. And again, we'll come to search later. And this is where you can change the task, the position of it on the menu. You'll be able to find ways of in the advanced, I think it is, if I remember right, you can set up so you can make all your icons absolutely. So there it is. Taskbar behaviors, left aligned or center. You can automatically hide the taskbar, show the badges, and gives you a bit more control over things, how you want to do them on the taskbar. And if you're used to it being on the left and it's suddenly moved to the center, just changing that might make you feel a little bit more familiar. The other thing in the taskbar that's changed is how things are laid out. And one of the things that's vanished is the screen snip. You used to be opening a little button here, a little thumb would open up, you can grab a screen snip. I've got screen snip, the snipping tools, pinned as a desktop option because I do use it an awful lot. But what I use even more is that shortcut that's on screen now. The Shift, Windows and S button allows you to press the button. It opens the screen snip, and you can decide what sort of screen snip you want to take. Grab the screen snip. There it pops up into your thing, and then you've got the controls again. This has changed a little bit since the last version of Windows. You can save it, you can duplicate it, you can do a little bit of editing in it straight away. You don't have to open up another tool to edit it, and you've even got some of the nice tools from Paint. So it's a slight change to the way that snipping tool has worked. If you're using that to extract content to put into documents and things like that, it's a lot easier to do with the button there. But being honest, I find that shortcut of Windows Shift S the fastest way to be able to just grab a piece of content off my screen at any given moment. It works really well. Going back to that start menu again, you can't just hit the start button or drop it in there. You'll see that that's changed significantly as well. And you've got a couple of new sections to the start menu that's changed. What you can now do is decide to pin certain applications to your taskbar, to your start button, so you can find them a lot quicker. So if you go into all apps, and one of the things I'm going to be using a little bit later today, hopefully, is Premiere Pro to edit this webinar. And if you right click it, you can see the new pin to start button there. Pop that on, go back, and there's Premiere Pro sitting there ready for me to use whenever I want to click start. The other thing is your recommended files. Now, you used to have a little button down here where you could go back and look at all your files and histories and apps you've been using very recently, but they're now here. So these are some of the folders and things I've been working on in the last couple of hours or so. If I click on the more, I can go back and search through anything I've just been working on, etc., and managing those sort of files and get to them in a really quick way. So it's a really good element of doing it. Those things are there to save you an awful lot of time, and I really do recommend you perhaps think about the fastest ways to get things. You can pin them to your taskbar, but you can end up with too many things on the taskbar. So do think about other ways of being able to manage it and use those tools. Some of it will automatically as well in the taskbar settings, in the start menu settings. You can see a button here for the start menu settings. You can actually tell it to do it automatically and to keep the most recent apps on that button for you to use at any time. And of course, you've got the new Windows 11 apps there, so that's another way to get to the nested apps within there. So List is something I use an awful lot as well, so it's sitting there ready for me to get to. Just thinking about other things like the structured start search now. We had a fantastic event last week at Staffordshire where we were talking about the structure of files, etc. And we started getting into the conversation about folders versus no folders. And that's because the search has got so much better. So one of the things you can now start to think about is, I want to look for a document. I know roughly what it includes. You start to type in proposal, which is a document we're going to show you on co-authoring in a little while. And you can filter it down to documents. So now I'm looking at documents, I'm looking at perhaps I want to find an app, everything. I can even be searching just for the website. So I've started typing proposal and it's gone straight away to bring the dictionary up for me. So again, it sometimes can be a little overwhelming if you just search for something, it brings back results you're not expecting. Sometimes you just need to be able to think about, well, what am I looking for actually? I'm looking here for a document around survey. Okay, I can go to that. It helps you search, or even a person. You know, if I wanted to get in touch with a colleague, again, using the search, I'll put in Rich, who's helping us out at the moment, and put people in, and there's Richard. And again, I can go straight, without having to go to another app, straight into an open contact message, send an instant message, etc. So it works really well as a tool to help you work through those things. Again, it's all about managing those elements. This is another change that's come in very recently here as well. This is about how you can switch desktops. It was already in the old version of Windows, but again, you can have two different desktops set up. So you might be working on a task 1 minute and have a different desktop to set up, and a completely blank desktop, and you put the different apps. So if you are jumping between tasks, that can be a way of having your desktop reflecting that difference all the time. So again, something to think about in your start and your search menus as you go through things. Also on this taskbar, because this is where most of the changes have happened on Windows 11, you'll see the sound controls have changed. And now, hopefully at the bottom, you can see, if the team are nodding at me, that you can see the mic button in the blue square. So this allows you to, if being, you'll have Windows open, you'll have Teams open, you'll have a number of different things open, and you suddenly need to unmute yourself. You can just hover over that button to mute or unmute yourself in Teams without having to go to Teams first and clicking there. So it might just save you that couple of seconds where you're managing that. But again, if you look at that taskbar again, these are the new functions here, and these have all changed here. So your sound controls, your brightness controls have all changed here. So you can change your sound without actually opening things. And again, you can choose which audio you want to be used for what. And again, change the volume of the different applications. So if you're perhaps watching a video in the background whilst you're working on something and you want notifications to come in, you can change the volume of those different settings without having to go into those sessions to come. Also, one of the things that's slightly annoys me at times now with the new version is the loss of the project button. How are you going to use on multiple screens? That's one of the things that's changed in recent. And again, I'm just using the search now as the search. If I want to extend my desktop, I just type in 3 letters and then I can start to manage my desktop. And you can see here I'm using 3 screens. One of them is vertical at the moment. This is sometimes when I'm out and about and plugging into a laptop, I need to come into this setting to plug in and work out how I'm going to mirror the screens and manage those things. But do think that's one of the things that's changed and moved around a couple of times as we've gone through the changes. One other thing that around folders. So I'm going to bring up an example Windows Explorer folder here, and I'm just going to go into a file here, some just demo files that we've used for various things in the past. Now, you will notice if you use right click a lot, things have changed. So you can see here your view has changed on this, so you can change the view of a whole page just by right clicking instead of having to go up to the top and changing view. And now if you click an actual document, you can cut, copy, rename, share without actually editing the document or looking for a text change down here. Again, this is a change in the Windows 11 that's changed a few things as we've gone in. You can copy the path to it, compress a file. Yes, you've still got your share. You can choose to open it with a different document here, but the cut, paste, copy, rename, and rename's one that sometimes people get a bit struggling on. How do I rename a document? You can click on it that way, but I think these right clicks is a nice little way, and there's also your delete function there as well. It's a change in format. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but it does work quite well. As you can see, it's a really simple way of doing this. Now, of course, one of the things we did cover in some detail last week was about where we save our files at the SharePoint event. For those of you that joined us, and we thank you for all of you that joined us on Friday to do that. Now, one of the biggest gripes that people who are a little bit aren't used to using these platforms is how do I find my files on SharePoint and use my Windows Explorer? So I'm just going to go over to the browser. If I can just bring up the right screen. There we go. Right, so let me just bring it in. Too many windows jumping around, I'm sorry, but there we go. Right, so in Teams, and as a general principle that we keep having to reiterate, is around where do your files go? And one of the fundamental things we've spoken about an awful lot at the moment is behind every team is a SharePoint environment. So this is my demo team space I use, a bit of a sandbox when I'm demonstrating things. And I've gone to the Files tab, and this is where my demo folder is. So if I wanted to get to save a file, amend a file, find a file, they're in here. I can click into them, and this is SharePoint. But I love to work with Windows Explorer, the old yellow folders button here. So how did I get that folder to be sitting here in my OneDrive? So it's a little tab, because if you're attaching documents, uploading things to websites or various different things like that, you need to be able to do it from your desktop solution. And the easiest way of doing that is to pick the folder that you want to work on. So if I go back up to Files here, go back up to the top file, General, there we go. And how did I get that folder to appear in my Windows Explorer? So let's see if I can use the new function and put them side by side so you can see what I'm doing. I'll hop over that, side by side, and I'll put the File Explorer next to that as well. Again, put that on that side. So there we have. So this is my SharePoint folder in the cloud. And this is my OneDrive folder, which effectively is as if it was on your machine. So all I did with this one is go into the 3 dots here and synchronize it. There's it gone. Add shortcut to OneDrive there. It changes different ways to look at it. Or you can open it up in SharePoint. Now I'm not in Teams, now I'm in SharePoint. And again, the buttons are here to create that synchronize. That created the folder in my OneDrive space here. So now I'm in Windows Explorer. And it's a lot easier to attach them, move files, and know where to go. Please don't synchronize the whole of your folders, because it will cause you too many synchronization issues, too much memory issues. But if it's specific folders you work in and you want to be able to get to them, again, you can do that. And that's one of the other changes in Windows 11 as well. In this File Explorer bit, it automatically puts your most recent folders that you've been using in there, so you can find things quickly. So again, it's trying to be more intuitive than you've perhaps been before with some of the tools you've done. Please make sure you pop in any questions in there. There's a large audience of you watching this, and hopefully some of these tips are giving you some ideas. And if there's anything that you think we need to cover, please just pop them into the chat and we'll pick that up as we go along. But we wanted to try and give you a bit of numerous top tips on how to work in the new environment. And some of this is old, some of this will be really familiar to you, some of it will be new to you. So we wanted to give you that approach across the board. So we've covered right click. We've covered managing your screen estate a little bit easier and being able to work on multiple things at the same time. Really helpful if you are referencing a document and you want to come back into it on those other sides. Made it easier to find your files, but co-authoring continues to be one of the mysteries of 365 that we use an awful lot. So this is a Word document I've opened up in the browser version of Word, and you can see here I've already invited Richard in here. So how did I do that? And time and time again, across organizations, we're finding people are still finding ways to attach an email, attach an internal document to an email. And you really don't need to do that. It actually creates more memory issues, and it means that we sometimes lose track of which article's which. So you can see here, I've got my folder in, and Richard's in here twice because he's obviously got it open on his desktop and the browser, I can now see. So let's have a look. So all I need to do when I wanted to bring Richard in, and what I'll do is I'll bring Esther in, who's also on the team in the back end of the team, Esther and Russ. And I'm going to ask them to demo co-authoring without types, but and click send. Now, without touching any other application, I has just sent an email to my two colleagues with the link to come straight into here. Within a matter of moments, they'll be able to get into this document. And you can see here, Richard's been typing away. If I hover over Richard, I can go to his location and see where he is, what he's typing on. So if you've got a multiple document, this works on Excel and PowerPoint, etc., to make it work. And you can see Russ is just coming in, and there's Esther coming in. I can open their contact cards and be able to get in touch with them. Send them a message, have a chat in the sidebar to it, pick an application it wants me to choose on. They can do that. We can have a catch up on it and see what's been changed recently. I can manage that. And then I might say, well, actually, I don't like the browser version of doing this. I'm going to click and open the desktop version. And there you go. And again, let's put them side by side so you can see how it works. I'll put this one on the side here. And the browser back over here, close that window. So there's both documents working in real time. There's the normal desktop version, which gives you the much more functionality than you get anywhere else. And there's your browser version. If you're on a mobile version, you can see that it's actually working in real time, which is pretty incredible. To think how you can collaborate and work on one document at the same time. And that's all done by sharing. And then I might say, actually, I want to manage access now, and I want to stop them editing. So I can simply go into here and revoke their editing permissions. It's just not letting me do it at the moment because I've probably got too many versions of it open on my screens. But there you go. So let's put that back up onto the screen. You can do the share, manage access, and I can create versions so nobody else can edit it and manage those sort of things. So you can change all the manage versions through there at any time, revoke access, all those sort of tools through there. So if the guys, thank you for editing that for a minute. You can see this. Your comments have been attributed, and do mention, of course, you can assign comments to people as well, which comes up in your tasks. What if I want to take this back to the document that it was at 9 o'clock this morning? And that is always people's worry about managing access. How do you know what versions have been changed? In the browser version, it's very easy. You just go to see that in the file section, view versions. In the desktop version, it's a little bit more complicated. You've got to go to the info tab, and then you can see the version history. Now I'll give this a moment to work, and there it goes. And it's now showing all the versions of this document going back to when I first created this, right back down here in August, starting this document. And you can see here, these are the changes that have been done, and it's actually showing me the edits on screen there. Now what I want to do is take this back to the document as it was beforehand. All I'm going to do is click on that document there, open that up, and there I am back to the version it was before. It's as simple as that to be able to manage version management. And so don't be afraid of that co-authoring approach. It can be a really powerful tool in co-authoring to manage documents as you go through things. So just think about that in the way you're using your Teams, your 365 platform, and co-authoring. PowerPoint, Excel, all those tools are really powerful ways of being able to do those things and manage that control and version search. So we had that question in there from Alex asking, is there an audit of sharing and co-authoring if so where it's amended? I just showed you that there. Hopefully that answers that question for you. It's really simple to do. It saves you absolutely ages in terms of being able to make sure that one document exists. The right version's there. You can lock it down at any time to stop any other edits to it. You can put the track changes onto it so you understand how it's going on, and it can save you an awful lot of time over the period. So I'll just close those couple of windows there, and we're back into Word. And again, if you open the browser version of Word, your most recent documents are always going to be there to make it easier to work on. Hillary's got a question there about syncing in OneDrive. Is that a copy or does it update it? No, it's actually, it's live whilst you're connected. It's a copy when you're not connected to the internet. So that's how it synchronizes when you come back up. So if you are offline and you're trying to manage those questions, it's live time whilst you're connected to the internet, whilst you're connected to the cloud. It saves the changes and synchronizes when you get back if you've been offline and it's on your local laptop. I try and only use it when I'm connected, being honest, because you can get some synchronized issues at times, but it does work really well. Keep your questions coming in, but one of the other things we wanted to cover was the widget. And this can be a way of perhaps getting enhanced data on what's going on. So if I just press the start button, and at the moment I've got the mostly cloudy weather tab. The moment I hover over that, it's now brought up the widgets. And you can curate what's in your widgets here. So at the moment, I've told it I want my Microsoft feed. So again, here's the slide deck we're using today. This was a meeting I've been in earlier on, and that was a meeting I recorded, so I can go to them in a very easy way. I've set my local weather forecast to where I want it to be. I can click on Customize the widget and tell it where I want to be. So I don't want to be in Telford. I'm in Stoke-on-Trent today, but if I'm going to London next week, I can create a little button there, put on, and I can get my weather updates from wherever I want to on my managed locations and see what the weather's going to be in different places. And then you get your feed from this side here. So again, if you're depending on what your role is and what you want to see, you can curate the feeds that are coming in on your feed here. So you click the settings button, and you can personalize the notifications and the feed and what you're interested in. You can hover over the whiteboard, show or hide feed. So at the moment, I've got my feed setting in there from Microsoft, and then it's picking up on the Discover tab, the news and things I want to do. You can tell it what you're interested in, what you're not interested in. So again, you can block certain news sites if you're not interested in viewing them. I'm not particularly interested in sport, so again, I can block those my interests by managing my interests and telling it which channels I want to do. So again, if you are perhaps in a media role and you want to know what's going on and keep an eye on various news articles, you click a plus and all of a sudden that's going to bring that into your feed, and you can get all those sort of feeds coming in. So Sky News feeds, etc. into there. And if you click the following, there's the feeds from what I've curated and managed. It has got the play option, but obviously we're not here to play, so I won't go into that one. But there's some particularly if you're doing some well-being and you want to do those things. And there is a tab you can put on here, which is a well-being one, a widget that you can put in there that actually allows you to focus time, and you can put a countdown or a focus session in as a widget, pin it to your desktop, and then you want to say, right, I'm going to spend the next half an hour just really focusing on some work. You can click that button, that'll mark you do not disturb. And again, for your well-being, it's quite a quick way of being able to say, right, for the next half an hour, I'm going to achieve a task. I don't want to be disturbed. Click that on, it sets a time and it counts down and it gives you that focus time to work on. So a really powerful tool to do it. I had a suggestion in that maybe it's another good try to show that co-authoring again. So I will go to co-authoring just one more time and the audit trail just to make it easier. And again, you can see here, I'm using the search an awful lot more now in Windows 11 than perhaps was a few weeks ago on the Windows 10 because it's so fast, it's so rapid, and I really don't need to know where files are to be able to get to them. So again, if I go back into File, and what we'll do is we'll go into the browser version as well to give you that idea of it. So again, on the browser, find a browser to bring up. Too many screens. There we go. So the magic of the 9 dots. Always know if ever you can find those 9 dots anywhere on your desktop, that's where you need to go. And there's you can access all your apps there, or even more apps here. Recent files, etc. in your 365 space. 9 dots is the secret to everything on the Windows and 365 environment. So let's go back to that document and I'll show you in the browser version. Oops, I clicked on the file tab, not the actual file. There we go. So again, if you're in here to file, version history is even easier to find on the browser version. And you can see here, here's all the versions 6 minutes ago, the show edits. You can download them and can see right down to who's edited what, at what time, what the versions were. I am pushing the demands of demoing live here, so it will run to the desktop app because it is that bit more powerful. It's using more of the local processor. Again, file, info, version history. There it is. All those different versions. I can roll it back at any time. So there's been 13 edits. I can hide one of the versions as well. So there's my easy toggle switch to look at what's changed as I've amended each version. Really simple tool to do. And again, in the tab in the info file, you've got your manage documents. You can retract anything, or you can protect the document and restrict the editing here. So again, now I can turn off the editing functionality and restrict it from anybody else going in here and put those changes on there, stop formatting. And it can even prevent people from downloading the documents as well. Again, it gives you as much control as you could possibly have to manage your files as you go through things. Time to wrap up. I hope that was useful. Please stay with us for a few minutes as we cover a few things on the slides, because there's a couple of announcements we need to be making at the moment. So we've had a fantastic response to the NPCC's National Digital and Data Technology Awards nominations, and the winners have been selected by our judges. So we are now in the position that we are announcing the ceremony will take place live in a few weeks' time on Wednesday the 23rd on Teams, funnily enough, because we haven't been able to arrange an in-person event because of the amount of work going on and the amount of events going on at the moment. So we do hope that Forties will be able to join us for the live announcements. So if you've been nominated for one of the awards, please do join us. I'll just share the right screen. I think my shares. Oh, thanks, Mike, for sharing. So do join us for that and we can get us in. There's a QR code to scan. It is a live event. There'll be chat and you'll be able to get into there. And then on to the next slide, we've got a huge number of events coming up. But one of the most important things coming up is some engagement work that we're doing around the National Digital Strategy. And I'll just bring up my screen now. And the links are being posted into the chat as we speak. So what we've got is a couple of events where we want the police family to come to a couple of workshops, in-person workshops, where we're going to be able to engage and interface about where we're at with the National Digital Strategy. Mike and Richard in particular will be leading that work. The links are going into the chat. They'll be on the screen and they'll be on the PDS website, and we've been mailing it out. You can simply register through Eventbrite. There's one in Birmingham on the 24th of October and one in London on the 22nd of October. And we are going to be doing some of these in parallel with the industry as well. If you want to share your view on how to go, and please register for those events and get involved. It'd be great to see you along as we come into those sessions. And then there's all the other work coming up. So we've got a webinar next week on Sway. One of our most popular webinars on the replays is Sway, so we're going to revisit that. And again, it's another application that's really powerful and allows for better collaboration, but really important on the accessibility. Mike's L&D workshops have kicked off yesterday with a fantastic audience, really good event. If you get in touch with us through the Contact Us page, and we're already registering now for the next Innovation Today event taking place in January. So we've got an awful lot of events coming up for you to get involved, engage with us and take part. Still getting lots of replays of the policing productivity webinars, so please do replay them at any time. The QR code's on screen. You'll be able to join us for them. But that's 1/2 past the hour. We've got to the end. Thanks for your questions and comments. Hope it was of use. And if there's anything you want us to cover in the future, please get in touch through the Contact Us and we'll be able to help and give you more information. Thanks for joining us today.